Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to 5 Question Friday. This is Cam. I am Cam. I am here again taking over for Sarah. It's a takeover. And I'm coming at you live from Diaspora, and I will share a little bit about this location and where I am. A lot more calm of an entry than the last time I hosted, which was a couple weeks ago. It was a little test takeover, and I think I did pretty all right. But yeah, I was much more prepared, and I feel much less nervous going into things right now. So let's get this 5 Question Friday started. So welcome, dobrodošli svi. This is 5 Question Friday, where we answer 5 of your questions live at 5 p.m. Croatia time. And these questions, you send them to us through Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We have a 5 Question Friday form direct from our website, through our consulting sessions, and then, in all kinds of other weird ways, like slipping them into a card in the Cards Against Humanity game. I don't know, all kinds of ways. It's cold. I just checked, and it's 12 degrees. And as a Canadian, I shouldn't call that cold, but Septembers and Octobers are supposed to be pretty mild, but we had this crazy storm a few weeks ago, lots of rain, and we kind of never recovered. We got a couple of nice days. I'm seeing lots of people I know signing on, friends and family supporting me today. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Yeah, so it's cold. I've pulled out my jacket, my kind of fall Canada jacket. I've got it zipped up to the top. I purposely didn't put the microphone on because it's got the jacket's kind of got that sound, and I was really worried it would be crunchy and then that's all you'd hear. So I am without microphone again. I think it's okay. Give me a thumbs up or just shoot a message in there. Let me know that you can hear me loud and clear, because 5 Question Friday doesn't work if you don't hear me. So it's going to be an important piece of the puzzle. Where am I? I've also prepared. Remember last time I had the laptop, which was very big and bulky, and it was really hard to have it and to reference it for all the things, thanks everyone, that I needed to talk about. So I've got a second cell phone here. I've loaded up all of my topics and all of the things that I want to chat with you about today. And so I'll be using this. But where am I? I want to talk about this beautiful location behind me. I am at Perivoj dvorca Erdödy. A Perivoj is a Croatian word for a park or the gardens around a castle. And there is a beautiful castle, the Erdödy Castle in Diaspora, on these grounds. Now, I know Sarah usually very gently picks you up and gives you, a 360 view of where she is. I'm not going to do that. And here's why. For anyone who knows me in real life, if they were to pick one word to describe me, not all the time, but if there was a word in there, one may choose klutz. I am a tiny bit klutzy, and so I have this real worry about picking all of this up and turning it around. It also doesn't help that I am in mud. My shoes are in mud. They will need to be washed when I get home so that I could get in this spot so that you could see the beautiful lake and the trees behind me, because this was the perfect spot. So trust me when I tell you that this park is beautiful, and you're just going to have to come to Diaspora to see it. But I love Jaska. Those of you who know, we moved here from Canada with our family. Diaspora has given a life to our family that I could never have even dreamed of. And so I want to share with you a little bit of information about this specific park, this Perivoj, so that you know a little bit, just a little bit of education, which is, what we're all about. So, Perivoj, as I said, is the Croatian word for a park or garden, but specifically one that surrounds a castle. And it's 9.47 hectares, which is about 23.5 acres. So it's a huge space. There's a castle that is under renovation, huge renovations going on here in this park. And so it's going to be very exciting, the plans that they have for the castle. But there's also an old žitnica, which is a granary, I think it's pronounced in English, where they, used to keep food for the animals. They've renovated that already completely, and they use it to host events. So this past weekend was Dani Vina, the wine days in Jastrebarsko, and a good friend of mine, Mariana, and I, we did glass art. We signed up to do glass art for wine glasses, and it was held in this what's it called? Žitnica. I want to say žitarica. Žitnica. It was super cool. So they've already, rejuvenated some of these old buildings, but the castle is still under renovation. The whole grounds is used for events. So they had the tent set up just, I don't know, like not even a kilometer down that way. If maybe not even a kilometer. This is where all the tents were set up for Dani Vina last weekend. But like my kids come to this lake in the summer for summer camp. They did rowing and even sailing they do here. It's super cool. And then they did like orienteering in the park. They do archery in the park, all kinds of activities. Like the town really uses this space, and the people of Jaska love this space. So in 2013, there was a huge storm and over 100 trees were damaged. And so since 2013, they have been actively working to regenerate the space and have it be for the people of Jaska, because I hear a tractor driving by. I don't know if you guys can hear that. But the people of Jaska love this space. So that's what I wanted to say about that. If you want any more information, shoot me a DM and I'll send you a link, and you can read a little bit more about the Erdödy Castle, the grounds, and the history of this area. All right. So that's where I am. I'll show you a little bit there. It's not just so cool. The water's so high because we've had so much rain lately. So that's affected the height of the water. All right, what have we been working on? Oh, we have been so busy working on this secret project, which I still can't tell you very much about. But I have had this opportunity to interview so many people in our audience, so many of you. And it has been, it's been such a joy, because here's the thing. People who have spent time here, whether it's somebody who's been here their whole life, moved here, or, like has visited, people have so much to say about Croatia, so much good stuff to say. And the pride and the joy in all of our conversations has been just incredible. I think that's been the best part, is connecting with you, our audience, and seeing the joy. Even if we were talking about some sore spots about Croatia, overall, everybody was they were so excited to share their experiences and their Croatia. So I want to thank you all. I'm still doing interviews. If you caught the stories today, I've still got some topics. I still want to talk to you. Trying to schedule things for next week with many of you in DMs. So there's still lots to say and talk about. So I invite you to reach out if you're interested in being interviewed. We've got so many topics, and I would love to meet you. Back to school is in full effect. My kids started school. It's been just a little under a month. I guess it's been about 3 weeks now. And it's been great. It's always lovely when children go back to school, for any parents, you know that. I attended the first parent council meeting. So that is called Vijeće roditelja in Hrvatski, in Croatian. I joined the parent council to like the weird looks from all of the other parents in our class. I think they thought I didn't know what I was signing up for. But it was actually a very strategic decision. I didn't go to elementary school here. I didn't have to prepare for pismeni and usmeni, and I don't know how the school system functions from from experience. And so it was really important to me, having 2 kids in the school system here, to understand how it functions as best as I could. And I thought joining parent council would be a good way to do that. It was really funny. You know, when I lifted my hand to be the representative for our class, all of the parents were like, you do know what you're signing up for, right? And I was like, yes, I know. And it hasn't been that bad. This is the 2nd year now that I'm on the council, and it usually involves 2 meetings through the year. And I love it because actually what they present at those meetings is quite interesting. They share statistics of the school, absences, trends that they're noticing. They share the curriculum. Like it's really informative and really has given me an insight into how the kids' daily life functions and how school functions here. So for any parents that have kids in elementary school or high school here and it's still all new to you, this has been a great opportunity to get kind of a peek behind the curtain. So not for everybody, but I highly recommend it if you sort of want that deeper connection and understanding. Well, I'm here because Sarah's not. She is literally flying in the air on her way to Texas. And she shared in stories. She was on a layover in London earlier. So she shared some things in stories about some of the similarities between Texas and Croatia. And she offered to share some of her journey. So answer that sticker. There's a little poll. If you want to see parts of her trip, she's gone for the next 3 weeks, I think it is. You know, what's the word? Point to that sticker, get on it and say, yes, you want to see it. Here's the thing about Friday at 5. I don't know about Sarah, but like the lack of vocabulary, and like, I'm already like straddling 2 languages, and I'm like, press the sticker is what I wanted to say, guys. Press the sticker. So yeah, so she's there. Sarah, I hope you have a lovely time. I hope there's time for everything. You know, time with your family, time to check in on some of my emails. No, I'm kidding. But I wish you a safe trip, safe travels. And I think we're getting a 5-question Friday live from Texas, which is going to be super duper cool. All right. This is a really cool update. I jumped on stories yesterday to chat about this a little bit. We had a huge update. Parliament had their first reading of the law on foreigners, and there have been several changes proposed. Before I get into them, I want to say, you know, in the story yesterday, we had a little subscription button, and that's for our newsletter. And the newsletter goes out every Tuesday, and I love our newsletter for so many reasons, but I love it because Daniela and Maria take the most important news stories of the week and they translate them and they link you directly to those articles. And so it really is an opportunity to stay up to date on what's happening to Croatia, relevant to, you know, expat in Croatia and our audience. So I encourage you to sign up for the newsletter if you're not already. It just got a brand new redesign. It looks amazing. And of course, the quality and the content is always so good. So do that. But let me give you some highlights here. If you haven't heard anything yet. So I've got my trusty notes here. Thanks to Daniela, who prepared this today on her day off. So thank you for jumping in and doing this, Dee. So number 1, the EU Blue Card will now be valid for 48 months. It was 24 months previously, and salary requirements will remain at 1.5 times the average salary in Croatia, which is exactly what it was before. The employers must now provide proof of adequate accommodation for those employees. Third country nationals or their employers are required to notify authorities of employment contract termination within 5 days. So up until this time, there was a 15-day grace period. They have shortened that to 5 now. Those who transport third country nationals into Croatia from other EEA territory countries and who don't meet the residence requirements must return them at their own expense. Any employers who abandon workers for whom they've secured work permits are now required to provide a financial guarantee to the state equivalent to one average month gross salary. There's also new rules for revoking residence and work permits. They include failure to comply with occupational safety regulations, any involvement in undeclared work, or assisting illegal crossings. Employers with convictions or serious violations in labor relations, social security, or workplace safety will face additional penalties. The rule requiring employers to have at least one Croatian employee in the past 6 months has actually been extended now to 1 year. Employers must meet new financial obligations not only related to income tax and insurance, but also ensure a minimum monthly turnover of 10,000 euro for legal entities and 15,000 for individuals over the last 6 months. There are limits on the number of work permit applications employers can submit. This is a newly introduced thing. Those who employ 50 Croatian or EU workers can request up to a maximum of 50 work permits, up to 250 if they have 250 employed Croatians or EU citizens, and for anything larger, there are no limits. There's also amendments to the law recognizing Croatian immigrants and their descendants and family members as a special category. And this is to encourage the return of diaspora. A new purpose for temporary and permanent residence has been created for this group to make it easier to immigrate back to Croatia, or to Croatia for the first time as a descendant. Croatian immigrants or emigrants and their families can apply for citizenship as soon as their residence is approved, simplifying their integration into Croatian society. There's the gist of it. And of course, this was from the first reading, and you can get a link to that information through our Tuesday newsletter. All right, that was my intro. Can you believe it? We haven't even started with question 1. I'm so excited for these questions. Some of them came in a few weeks ago when we told you that I was hosting an episode, and if people had any questions for me specifically as a member of the Diaspora. So I pulled from some of those questions this week, and the first one is from Molly, and it came to us from IG, from Instagram. And her question was, what is the attitude toward returning Diaspora? Love this question, Molly. Thank you so much for asking it. I'm sure there are a lot of Diaspora who are wondering that, how is there, if they do return, how will they be received by the Croatians who live here? And, when I was first putting together this answer, it was all positive because my experience has been overwhelmingly positive, but I did want to show you both sides, and so I called my great old friend Josipa, who's been here for 3 years now, and I was like, Jos, I need your help. I need to think of some of the negative things or some of the misconceptions. Help me brainstorm here. And so I have a well-rounded answer for you, but like I said, my experience has been, not predominantly positive, but like 99.9% positive. However, this is definitely the reaction when people find out that I'm from the Diaspora. The first is like shock, and they're like, why are you here? Why would you come here from Canada? And come here? Like, they're just dumbfounded by this. Young people are leaving in droves, and they just can't understand why we would choose to come back from there. That first question, there's people walking by. Hi, guys. Totally stumped me. I didn't think of people. I thought there might be some ducks and geese that come close, but guys are just going for, actually they call it a promenade here in Jastrebočko in the Perivoj Erdödy, but they're just going for a cool chill and chat. Anyways, the first question they ask is why. It's like, why? And I always have the same answer for them, and that is that in Canada, at least my experience, and I think it's the experience of many, and I think that perhaps Diaspora in the States or in Australia or South Africa you know, they might have the same feeling, but we live to work over there. That's all we do. Our whole life revolves around work. We can't even sit down for a cup of coffee. We got to go through a drive-through. If you're in Canada, you're going through a Timmy's because you don't got time to sit down, you know, or going to Starbucks for your cup of coffee. I mean, let's talk about how that's not even a thing here other than for tourists. And you have no time for family, for anything. We live to work. Here in Hrvatska, they work to live. And when I tell them that, I see like, yeah, they recognize that that's true, that the lives here are so much more focused on enjoying, on community, on coffee culture, on sitting for 2 hours, 3 hours with friends or family and enjoying a cup of coffee or a beer or, you know, a Fanta. Who cares what you're drinking as long as you're together and you're spending time. And I think that's the biggest difference. Lotus Love 444. Absolutely. I'm in Toronto right now. Samo prava trava, cool name. Canada has become unbearable financially, socially, and everything else. Yeah, I think there's a lot of that sentiment. And I think Croatia offers us this beautiful opportunity to just slow down and not live to work, but work to live. Jos and I brainstormed some misconceptions that the Croatians may have about us. So they think we're coming here and living off of diaspora money. You know, so their assumption is, well, yeah, sure, come here. It's hard for us, but it's not going to be hard for you because you're coming with wads of cash. You know, the ones that grow on trees? Yeah. I even had a lady, I was getting meat from the deli, like in a big grocery chain. And she was like, oh, you're here now? Like we kind of know each other. And she was like, well, you know, easy for you. You have a Canadian paycheck. And I'm like, actually, like my husband and I live and we work here now. Like our paychecks aren't that far off, likely, you know? And so I think that's a huge misconception when we're coming over. And most families are looking for work in the same way that, you know, people are here. I knew I would have lots of comments, and I totally want to hear them and I want to share them. So D. Bertolo, totally agree, not to mention the 75% tax in Canada. Currently living in Vir. Well, hello, aren't I jealous? I'm here in the north freezing my ass off from Sault Ste. Marie. Okay, so you know all about freezing your ass off. I'll give you Vir, Di Bertolo. I'll give you Vir. Yeah, so even for retirees, like, you know, like a pension in Canada is nothing to brag about. And so for a lot of retirees, like, they can't even enjoy their retirement in Canada anymore. And so, you know, my mom is here and I think she's watching. Hey, mama. You know, she's here in her ancestral home and she's able to have a beautiful retirement from a financial perspective. And like, none of us are rolling in the money. Some people for sure are, but like, we're just living just, you know, a chill life. And so she's able to do that here without these financial worries and stressors that she would have had in Canada. And so I think for retirees, you know, this is a real legitimate option for them to have a retirement. Hi, mama. Okay. And here's the thing. If we're moving here from Canada, it's not about the pay. And I think that this is what they have a really hard time understanding Croatians, is because there's so much talk about the cost of living here and what the plaće are like, what the pays are like. You know, if we want 6-figure salaries, we're going to go back to Canada, but that's not what we want, because that's not fulfilling our lives. 6-figure salaries also means like $1 million mortgages and $1 million homes, and it's just not sustainable. And so we're here for the other things. We are here for a meaningful life, to connect with our culture, to not lose our language, and to focus on working so that we can live. So Ludmila, I have your question, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly either, but your question is on here too today. So that's sort of, those are sort of some of the misconceptions. I wanted to point out a negative. It is the "we can't do that here" answer to when we suggest something. So, you know, sometimes when there's an issue and we provide North American problems, or North American solutions rather, sometimes locals can be closed off. You know, and sort of if we want North American solutions, we should just go back to North America, because that's not how they do things here. You know, and you're here now, so like, do things our way. But I have to say, Jos and I were talking about this, and I have to say that that's actually not the experience that I've had. One of the ways that I sort of knew I was ready to come back, and knew that as a family we were ready to come back, was that I noticed a big mentality shift. I know it before it was always, a to se tu tak ne dela, to se tu ne može, pa ovo ti nije Kanada. But then like 2-3 years ago, that really started to change, and I would hear more, pa ajde, idemo probati, you know, let's try that. Hey, what a great idea, sure. And that's when I knew that it was like, okay, it's time. So my experience has actually been the opposite. There are a few things that I have joined here where, you know, people have been very open to the suggestions that I've made, and are like, wow, like, we've never thought of it that way. Let's give it a try. If it works, great. If not, we'll go back to the way it was. And so my experience has actually been positive. Okay, I saw a bunch of messages here and I want to share. That's interesting because the Canadian dollar is much weaker than the EU dollar. It sure is. It sure is. Thanks, Natty Doe. Ilya Anna, enjoying our family, our children, and slowing down is the goal. Yes, you hear me clearly. You know, we're feeling the same thing. Absolutely. All right, so that's my answer. Molly, thank you so much for that question. I had such a great time putting together my thoughts to share with all of you on that, and I see that so many of you are sharing my experience and sharing the same sentiment. So I want to talk about a few guides that you can check out. First is how Croatian diaspora can return to Croatia, and then there's the Crushing It in Croatia interview that Maria did with me when I started working here a year and a half ago. Gosh, I can't believe that much time has already gone by. So if you want to learn more about my family and our journey and our return to Croatia, those are the two guides. And if you're watching the rerun on YouTube, all of those guides are listed below if you scroll down. If you're watching on Instagram, send a DM, and over the next couple days, I can send you the links to those guides. Samo prava trava. I work for a younger team, and they are fully westernized. Only old folks have this can't try mentality. Canada has far more downsides, and they are not aware of nije obična zemlja. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. Yeah, I find the young people here are very open. And even, I mean, I'm in my 40s. I find my generation to be very open as well. So yeah. Okay, question 2. Okay, Lyudmila, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name right. So scold me in the DMs if I'm not, or give me a thumbs up that I am, because I see that you're on here today and we've had lots of chats over DMs. So I was excited to include your question today. And it's a great one, and pertaining to everybody, but my U.S. friends here, specifically about the U.S. Army. So my husband is a veteran of the U.S. Army. Does he need to submit any additional information about his military service for his temporary residence application? Someone told me it's much harder to get the permit if someone has been in the military. Hvala. I'm glad I'm pronouncing your name right. Okay, so I want to thank my colleague and my work BFF, Daniela, for doing the research on this. So there's nothing in the law on foreigners or on the MOOP website that says he cannot apply if he is a veteran, or that he will be denied because of his veteran status. In the law, the only thing connected to military service is that you cannot walk around Croatia in foreign military uniform unless you are on some kind of program in Croatia, like a military exercise of the Croatian army or some other army. On the application itself that he'll fill out, there is a section that asks specifically about military service. And so it just says, military service, and then there's like a space beside it. So Daniela sent an email to MOOP to try to find out exactly what information they're looking for in that blank space. For example, do they want years of service? Do they want rank? Like, what exactly do they want? But we're still waiting to hear back. So when we find out, we'll let you know. But I reached out to a lawyer that we referred to, and I asked him, have you had veterans, like, what do they typically write? So he said that in his cases, the veteran will just put, for example, U.S. Army 2015 to 2020. And up until this point, that's been sufficient. So thanks, Josip, for sharing that with me so that I can share it with you guys. And I hope that helps answer your question. So I've got a couple of guides pertaining to this topic. First, how can American citizens visit and live in Croatia? And the second guide is how third country non-EU EEA citizens can apply for temporary residence in Croatia. They're down below if you're watching on YouTube. And you know what to do if you need them here on Instagram. Send me a DM. I'm going to respond back and I'll send you the guide. All right, on to question 3. How's everybody doing? How's everybody feeling? Are you enjoying the episode so far? Question 3 came to us anonymously through Instagram. Hi, you guys are great. Thank you. And I always look forward to your posts. My son is getting his domovnica and moving to Zagreb in November. Yay, I'm so excited for him. I heard that the Croatian government is offering free Croatian language courses as well as some other benefits. Is that right? And if so, how can I find out about these? Kind regards. All right, actually, there are several programs available. So first, there are scholarships for learning the Croatian language available through like public calls for members of the Croatian people, as well as their descendants. These scholarships cover not only the language course, but like meals, accommodation at the Croatian universities, which is super cool. Super cool. I just was messaging with a young adult who came here through one of these scholarships, which I thought was super, super cool. Also for the academic year 2024-2025, so this is too late for this lady's child, there are special enrollment quotas at Croatian universities for members of the Croatian minority and immigrants. They don't need to write a state matura exam, but registration and admission does have a specific deadline. So I think probably too late for this year, but it's definitely something to look into for next school academic year. Additionally, people who hold Croatian citizenship may be eligible to study for free at the University of Zagreb if they qualify. How cool is that? Especially coming from North America, where like going to university is very, very, very expensive. So super cool that they have these programs available and they include the Diaspora in that. I also wanted to bring up Biram Hrvatsku. So it's not applicable to this question, but since we're talking about sort of grants or special programs, Biram Hrvatsku offers business grants for returnees, returning who are Croatian citizens who are under the age of 60. You have to meet specific work and education criteria to be able to access some of these. So just wanted to bring that into the conversation as well. We've got some great guides because obviously if I've told you about this, you want to know how you can access the info. I highly recommend you reach out to the Central State Office for Croats Abroad. We have a guide all about this office. And then we have a guide on government grants and loans for entrepreneurs in Croatia, which I've included as well. So you can find them below in YouTube or DM me and I will get those out to you in the next couple of days because it's Friday today and then it's Saturday and then Sunday. Sometimes I do it on the weekend, but it might wait till Monday morning. I hope that's okay. I hope that's okay. Ooh, I see some other GTA Croatians. Hey, you know who you are. All right. Okay, so this is where Sarah usually does the lawyer tip of the week. But You know, here's the cool thing about Sarah. When we were talking about me, you know, possibly taking over 5 Question Friday while she was gone, she was like, you know, and I love 5 Question Friday. I love everything about the format. I love that she starts with like sretan petak. Like, it's so cute. And I didn't want to veer away from that too much, but she was like, Cam, I want you to make this your own. And I was like, oh, that's really nice, Sarah, but I really like the way you do it. And then like 3 days later, I'm like, I have an idea for how I can make this my own. So instead of the lawyer tip of the week, I wanted to do the diaspora tip of the week. And she was like, she loved it and she was on board. And so that's what I've done. I planned it ahead of time, and I'd like to read you my Croatian diaspora tip of the week. And it is entitled, Don't Forget to Enjoy Croatia. So I'm going to read that to you. Living in Croatia as a member of the diaspora has been an incredible journey for me and my family. I used to come here every summer, and like many of us, I was in full tourist mode, like visiting my favorite museums, strolling through Zagreb city streets, my favorite city in all of Croatia, stumbling on hidden cafes and little corners that are just so beautiful, you know, ones that only the locals hang out at. Those are the things that I always wanted to discover in the city streets. It felt like I was rediscovering Croatia with every trip whenever I came here. But now that I live here, I've noticed that I don't really do these things much anymore. And I gotta give myself a little bit of grace because I'm not on vacation anymore. But I want to remind all of us who have come here to live, well, really anyone, whether you're diaspora returning or, you know, you've moved from abroad, I want to remind you to keep enjoying Croatia. Keep enjoying this beautiful country. Many of us moved back home, as we say in the diaspora, for this slower pace of life, for the sense of community, and to be close to the culture that we love so much. But it's easy to get caught up in our daily grind and forget to appreciate what's right in front of us, what we traveled so far to reconnect with. The things that used to excite us as visitors, we're no longer thinking about. So let's not forget to be curious, to explore, to enjoy all of this incredible beauty that's around us. Whether it's wandering through the streets without a plan, visiting that museum that you used to love to visit, or sitting in a small café for hours just watching the world go by. These moments are what makes life here so rich. So even though we're not visitors anymore, we should still take time to be tourists in our own home and rediscover why Croatia is so special. It's a way to keep that sense of wonder alive and to truly appreciate the everyday joys that brought us back here in the first place. That's my diaspora tip of the week. All right, going into the second half here. Oh, yes, I saw somebody say, what is diaspora? A Croatian outside of Croatia. All right, this question comes from Chris through our 5 Question Friday form on our website. In the contact section, you can fill out an actual 5 Question Friday form if you have a question. This was a great one. I really enjoyed this one. If you had a relative, parent, grandparent, etc., that lived in Croatia in the past that may have owned property and are no longer alive, if you don't have their OIB, is there a way to search for property they may have owned? Chris, this is such a good question, and I bet there's a lot of people out in the diaspora who are going to benefit from hearing this. Okay, I made lots of notes here because I got lots to say. Okay, first of all, let's talk about where you can look for property information. It is only through the official land registry, so the zemljište knjige, that the true owner of a piece of land can be confirmed and where someone else can lay claim to ownership of a piece of property. So back to Chris's question now. Can you search for property without an OIB? Okay. The answer is yes and no. It kind of depends, and I will explain why. So there is a state agency called Katastar, and many of you may know what this is. Some of you may be hearing about it for the first time. Now, through them, you can view really cool satellite images of all of the parcels of land in Croatia. Now, I'm not going to get into Katastar too much, except that I will warn you that ownership records are typically not up to date. So they are not typically updated in Katastar because it is officially done in the Zemljište knjige. Okay, so this may not be accurate in there. But what you can do is click on a specific parcel and ownership information will come up, updated or not. So proceed with caution. If you find the parcel and that relative is listed on it, then you may also see their OIB there. I say may because sometimes things are not updated in Katastar, and all you might find is their name, their address. You might even find the name of their parent, like whose child they are. And so in that case, you're SOL, you're shit out of luck. Now, let's say this isn't an option. You don't know where the land is, or you find the parcel and the relative is not listed, even though you know that they own that particular piece. Then you're also shit out of luck to search for it in this way too. So 2 strikes. That one didn't work. Okay. Let's talk about some official channels now. If this relative was issued an OIB and you are able to prove direct lineage, what you could do is visit the local Matični ured, so the registrar's office, and request a copy of their birth certificate or their domovnica. The OIB will appear on either of these documents. Now, when I say proof of lineage, I mean, for example, if it was your father's land, then you need to show your birth certificate, which has your father's name on it, and that shows your connection to your father. That shows the lineage. Now, if you are overseas and you can't go to the Matični ured on your own, you can have a lawyer do this on your behalf through a power of attorney. Now, once you have this OIB, then you'll be able to confirm any pieces of land that they own. From there, if, for example, you're the executor of the estate, you can then contact the state agency, which in this case, I've highlighted this, is the Gradski ured za... highlighted it, but I still said it wrong. Gradski ured za katastar I geodetske poslove grada Zagreba. That is a mouthful. It's a mouthful. So contact them with the OIB in hand, and you inform them of this person's death, and from there, the land ownership records can be amended. So, that was a mouthful. Especially Gradski ured za katastar I geodetske poslove grada Zagreba. That was way better than the first time I tried to say it. All right, so we've got some guides for you on this topic. What a great question. How to find property ownership records in Croatia. And then also, if you want to connect with a vetted lawyer, if you'd like us to share some of that information with you, you can also reach out to us about that. All right. We're at the final question, which means it's the 5th question of 5 Question Friday, in case you didn't know. I'm sure you knew. This one came from Madge through a consulting session. Do families move to school districts specifically for the schools? What an amazing question. Oh, hello, Visit Vukovar. So cool. Joining us from Slavonia. I'm the daughter. I'm a Slavonka. I'm a half Slavonka. I'm a Kajkavska Slavonka. All right, so I answered this from a personal perspective, but I also included some researched information as well. But as a mom of 2 children who are in school here, I thought I would chime in. Okay, so first of all, as someone who's moving from the North American education system, from the Canadian education system, I already knew that schooling, the whole school system here was better than Canada. And like, I know Croatians complain a lot about their school system, but it's like way better, guys, way better. Like, I can't even tell you. It's night and day the type of education my children are getting here. It really, really, really is. So I already knew that coming here meant they were in a better education system, period. Okay. We did, however, make some decisions around schools based on the following wishes. I really wanted my children to start off in a small village school, where in a village they could have gone to here, to the town of Diaspora right away, but I wanted them to go to the school in our village where my grandparents went to school. They had 9 students in their class, so it was a very small school, and I thought that that was really important, especially we came in half year. They started in January, and so I really thought that having smaller class sizes would really help with their integration and their language learning, and just having a little bit more attention, as they made this transition. We also wanted access to the 5th grade and up to be close by, so that's here in Jastrebarsko. So typically in Canada, most of our elementary schools are grade 1 to 8, but here you can be in a small school in your village until the end of grade 4, and then in grade 5 you come into the town, into the main school. So we wanted that to be close. And then we also wanted them to have access to secondary schools and choices of secondary schools, because secondary schools here function completely differently than they do in Canada and the US as well, from what I know about the US school system. And they'll have a choice. They can go here in town, or they'll be able to go to school in Zagreb, and it will be an easy commute for them. So those things were really important. So again, I'm rural. I can't really speak to, what the schools are like, what the elementary schools are like in Zagreb. I would assume most people, enroll their kids in a school that's within their kvart, or maybe if they're driving them, they're choosing something close to their place of work. That might be the case. But in terms of ranking schools, it's really interesting. So, I want to start with high schools. They rank high schools here. That's very common, and it's common because children have to apply and compete to get into these schools, which is a lot like universities in North America. So, I know every year Maclean's Canada has that ranking guide of universities. They do the same thing here for the high schools all around the country. But for elementary schools, there really isn't much except for one ranking that Jutarnji List, the newspaper, started. They did it. 2023 was the first year that they did it. But the criteria for it is strictly based on grades, which, let's be real, we know that that's not the whole picture when you're assessing, the value of a school and the experience. I have a link. I saved the link for this article. Jutarnji List is blocked though, so unless you have a subscription, you can't read the full article. There's a little bit in the beginning that you can read for a synopsis, but that's about it. But I have the link if anybody wants it, and if anybody has a Jutarnji List, they're paying the subscription, then you can read the whole thing. DM me and I can send that to you. I also made a note here for myself to, actually I already talked about this, to note that the Canadian school experience is, the Canadian school experience is extremely different from the US. So I'm assuming that Madge is from the States, because based on my experience with my friends in the States, where your school district has a huge impact on your education. And so a lot of families make the decision of where they're going to move based on what school district that neighborhood is in. So I get the context of this question, and I hope that my answer helped to shed a little bit of light. I saw my fingers are frozen. That's how cold it is. Do schools mostly teach in Croatian, or are there schools that teach in English? Natty Doe, great question. So there are private school options, international schools they call them here, where the whole curriculum is in English. My kids are in a public school. One of the motivators for us coming here was for them to learn the Croatian language. I'm fluent, and I'm I'm an early childhood educator by original education, and I did a great job teaching the kids Croatian when they were little. But when they started school, which starts significantly earlier in Canada, you start, you might be doing full day preschool, but kindergarten starts, you're either 3.5 or you're 4, junior kindergarten. And so, when they went to school, I had to shift, and they lost a lot of that Croatian as we started to explore English and help them do that. So I had a really hard time maintaining their bilingualism, and so one of the motivators for coming here was immersion. I mean, as Canadians, we have the option to do French immersion from grade, I mean, you can do French immersion even from earlier, but grade 3 is sort of that second window where they throw kids into French school and they're like, here, sink or swim. And we know statistically that the kids are going to swim because there's so many studies around immersion. So I specifically made the choice to do Croatian school where they would be immersed in the language. There's a really cool thing though that people who come from outside, when they're coming and they're not native Croatian speakers, the Ministry of Education offers 70 hours of Croatian language lessons outside of school hours. So we had to apply for that. Well, the school applied on the children's behalf because they have to bring a different teacher who's not teaching in the school. And she came and she was their Croatian language teacher. She met with them twice a week, I think. And we used it for that first half year they were here and into that second year that we were here, school year. And it was amazing. She would help them with homework, help them with their Croatian. Like, it was invaluable. So yeah, we threw them in, and I mean, their Croatian is better and better and better every week. I'm blown away. I'm blown away by them. I think I'm so proud of them. And I'm so proud that I'm so happy that now they're never going to forget Croatian. They're going to be speaking it their whole lives. Obviously, their English is amazing, and they get 5s, which is fabulous. That's their freebie course, but they're doing fabulous, and their teachers have been amazing and supportive. So thanks for the question, Natty Doe. That's exactly what happened to me as well. There you go. Did your kids struggle to learn Croatian when they first started school there? Of course. Croatian is not easy at all. But, you know, we have tools now. There was a lot of Google Translate being used. Like, you know, when you like put your phone and you take a picture of the piece of paper, like, I mean, we couldn't do any homework without Google Translate in the beginning. You know, so what we did in the beginning was, you know, we Google translated the question. We did all the homework in English. So we Google translated the questions. I encouraged them to write the answers in English because I wanted to remind them and the teachers that homework was all about knowledge and retention and doing the studying that you needed to do. So it was important in the beginning that they were able to do that with their English brain, right? So we would translate it, answer it in English. Then we would Google Translate their answer, which, by the way, Google Translate sucks, back into Croatian. And then they would write out their Croatian answer. And so that was, but like the kids rarely pull out Google Translate anymore. Like it's amazing. Also, I think we came at a really a border time. So, you know, they came in and I put them both in grade 4, and I won't go into the details of all of that, but grade 5 is a very pivotal year because you go from kind of mala škola to velika škola, from little school to big school. And grade 5, it functions like a high school. You have lockers, you're changing teachers, now you have a profesor and profesorica, not an učiteljica or an učitelj. So the antes are upped in grade 5. And but what I found is they're getting 4s, and actually I think they finished Croatian with 4.5 or 4.6 last year, because now they're learning grammar along with their peers. So from a grammar perspective, they're learning all of the rules and everything at the same time that the native speakers are learning them. So it's in time-wise, it's been good. I think, there we go. Thank you. Great, cool questions. Oh my gosh, my phone locked. Hold on, let me reopen it so that I don't miss anything. I think that was, I just want to talk about the guides for this question because it was a fabulous question. We have some amazing guides. I mean, before we moved here, I had a consulting session with Sarah, and she sent me, I was really worried about the education, not worried about the education system. I wanted to eat up all the information I could. And I did that through the Expat in Croatia guide. So we've got just a guide on understanding how the education system in Croatia functions. We've got a great guide on how to enroll or transfer your child to a Croatian school. And then how to prepare your children for Croatian schools after relocation, which is such an insightful guide. And then I've also got that link to the best elementary schools in Croatia from Jutarnji list. So if you want that, I can send that to you as well. Where are we? Oh my gosh, it's almost 6 o'clock. My fingers are frozen. Well, this has been a joy. I remember in my first, oh, hey Annie! In my first live that I did a couple weeks ago, I was so nervous. I was so scared to even scroll and answer your questions because I thought that would be so overwhelming. But like your questions made the live questions made it even more amazing than, you know, just going by the script. So I enjoyed myself. I hope that you guys did too. Thank you so much for taking time out of your lives to interact with us and be a part of Expat in Croatia. We value you guys so much. We gush over our audience. You know, if you ever shoot us a DM, you're most likely talking to me. I always check in if you've asked for a guide from one of our posts. That's me typing, hey, so-and-so, just making sure you got your guide. I'm here if you have any questions. So I'm always around. We love chatting with you. Thank you for being here. I guess this is another thing that's classically Cam in the 5 Question Friday, which is going to be the Croatian goodbye. I read somewhere that, like, you know, Croatians lose like 2 years of their lives to the Croatian goodbye. And I think that is a legit statistic because my husband will tell you that he has lost way more of his life than 2 years to my Croatian goodbyes. He actually won't get up when we're leaving somewhere until I'm at like the car door. He's like, are you out the door? Can I get up now? And so it's kind of a thing. So I've been saying goodbye now for a couple minutes, but this is it. Sretan petak, as Sarah would say. Želim vam ugodan vikend. I hope you have a fabulous weekend. I hope your week was great, and I hope your weekend is even better. For those of you who are not in Croatia, I will remind you to slow down. Call a family member that you haven't talked to or a friend in a long time, and take an hour to just sip on your coffee and not rush anywhere. If you're going to go to get it at Tim Hortons, my Canadian friends, bring it home and drink it at home. Or drink it in the Tim Hortons with all the retirees that are sitting there. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a great weekend. I appreciate all of your support. Ciao. I'm saying goodbye now. I'm going to click on the X. Bye.